Hey there, Vince here with Circuit Rewind, and today I'd like to introduce you to a project that I've been working on called Stratapi, a Stratum-1 network time server utilizing the Raspberry Pi and the Adafruit Ultimate GPS hat based on the FreeBSD operating system. Using the Adafruit Ultimate GPS hat for the Raspberry Pi, in my case specifically the Raspberry Pi 4, allows you to have GPS access on your Raspberry Pi. I have created a pre-built disk image which includes the cronny daemon for NTP Network Time Protocol time serving. If you just want to cut straight to the chase, all you have to do is download the disk image file from the GitHub repo, flash it to the SD card using whichever tool you like, such as Rufus, the Raspberry Pi Imager, DD, whatever you like, put it into the Raspberry Pi with this hat attached. Once the Raspberry Pi boots up and GPS lock is established, you'll have a network time server. It is literally that simple. Why did I do this though? I've been looking for a cost-effective network time server solution for my home lab and for small locations that I manage, for instance, small businesses. I first tried the FC NTP mini server, which was between 75 and 100 bucks, and initially that worked fine for the first month or two that I had it. However, its NTP protocol is off by technically 1 byte and 1 byte only. There's a byte in a header that says how often a client is allowed to poll the server to request the current time. This device, since it was designed for small environments like home labs and small businesses, that byte is set to 0, which translates over to every 1 second a client is allowed to poll the server. The developers of the core NTP daemon have decided that this is unacceptable, that you need a minimum time significantly higher than this. Therefore, any packet that is received from a server with this information, they will flat out reject. Rather than just saying, hey, the polling interval isn't quite what we want, let's just poll at our interval instead of what we're told we're allowed to poll at, they flat out reject the packet and refuse to connect to the server anymore. If you look at this Reddit thread here, users have been confused by this, not knowing that this was an upstream NTP issue, so they're blaming things like pfSense and OpenSense for not being able to connect to this device anymore. That's the exact same issue that I was in with my router here at home. I personally have a fork of the NTP daemon, but I didn't want to manage that long term just to fix that one bug because their developers refused to handle this specific use case. With this regression, they do not want to address it and fix it. Since then, I've looked at other commercially available budget-friendly devices, such as this one, the Wishcolor TS01, and this one, the Wishcolor YK1000H, and this disappoints me because both of these have a neat feature where they have little screens on them so you can see their IP address that they get off your DHCP server. And they also display the current time and GPS status, things like that. However, between them, they don't have on-device configuration through a web portal. One of them requiring a hard-to-find, sketchy piece of software that you pull from an FTP site somewhere in a foreign language of some kind. No idea of its reliability or long-term capabilities. Their ability to keep time is extremely inaccurate. As you can see here, there is a clock simulator game for the Nintendo Switch where you press a button every 1 second to emulate being a clock yourself. The further away you are from being an exact second, you take a little bit more damage until you reach 0. Me pressing this button is more accurate than how accurate these devices are at tracking 1 second, second by second by second intervals. They fail at the most fundamental job they're designed to do. They do not accurately track time, and they have variants all over the place. It just wasn't worth it. I decided to investigate Adafruit's GPS hat for the Raspberry Pi 4. The first thing you'll have to do when you receive this hat is it comes as a kit, and so the 40-pin header is not pre-soldered on. You'll have to do this yourself. The way I like to do this, because the header and the PCB are both flat and the table is flat, I'll hold down the header, put some force on it with one hand, and then I'll use my other hand to tack a little bit of solder on one pin on one side, put some solder on a pin on the opposite side, inspect it, make sure it's still flat, and then I'll go through and do the rest of the pins and make sure it's a nice clean solder job. This takes me 5 to 10 minutes to do because I've been soldering for a while. If it's your first time soldering, this is actually a fairly good practice project. Once that is done, back to your workstation, you can download the pre-made image file. You can use a tool such as Rufus on Windows or the Raspberry Pi Imager to put this on an SD card. Once that is done, you put the SD card into the Raspberry Pi, and then when the Raspberry Pi boots up, it will acquire an IP address through DHCP on your network. This will now be the IP address that the Pi uses. You'll be able to connect to it with any NTP client, such as NTPD, Cronny, Windows time synchronization. Your servers can use it, such as VMware. The hat itself does have its own internal antenna. If you want to have better reception, you can also purchase an external antenna. Because it uses such a small connector on the PCB, I like to loop it around, and then using the holes already on the PCB, I will zip tie down part of that connection, so that way there's no pressure on the main connection point on the PCB. I also highly recommend using a battery on the hat, because otherwise, when the Raspberry Pi first boots up, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to get a GPS lock. If you have a battery in there, the device remembers the GPS information, and the next time the Pi reboots, it may already have the GPS lock before the operating system is even fully loaded. If you want to build the image yourself from scratch, you'll need a FreeBSD 15 or newer system. Simply git clone the GitHub repository linked below, and then run the build script that's inside of it. It will download all of the dependencies and then build a brand new fresh image for you. From there, you can then flash that image straight to an SD card. This is the exact same process that I've been using here in my lab. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, later y'all.